made significant efforts to denuclearize North Korea and achieve peace on the Korean peninsula. His 3 meetings with Kim Jong-un were a first in American history, and particularly after the meeting with Kim Jong-un in the DMZ in 2019, he became the first U.S. president to step on North Korean soil. And at that time, media headlines described President Trump's move as one of the most dynamic dramas of the 21st century. And the president in particular loved Washington Times, a conservative newspaper, so much that he said he was a true fan of the Washington Times. In addition, President Trump actively supports and praises Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon, the founder of the Washington Times, for her world-class peace movement and efforts to bring about peace on the Korean peninsula and the world. And last year, when the United States was divided into progressives and conservatives due to the U.S. presidential election, and when the country became chaotic with division and conflict, Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon said to the American clergy, Christian clergy, forgive and become one. She also emphasized the need to return to the fundamental founding spirits of the United States blessed by heaven. So she also delivered this message to President Donald Trump. So ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome President Donald Trump, who will now deliver us a priceless speech on heavenly unified Korea and the vision of peace.
It is a great and profound honor to address this 7th Rally of Hope and to speak to you today about a cause that is very close to my heart, the dream of peace and unity on the Korean Peninsula. I want to thank the Universal Peace Federation and in particular, Dr. Hak Ja-han-moon, a tremendous person, for her incredible work on behalf of peace all over the world. Her story of escaping from North Korea at 5 years old, at the outset of the Korean War, is an amazing example of the power of faith in Almighty God. I also want to thank her late husband, Reverend Moon, for founding the Washington Times, an organization for which I have tremendous respect and admiration. They have done an incredible job. I want to congratulate Dr. Moon on the launch of the new global initiative, Think Tank 2022, bringing together experts from around the world to focus on solving the conflict on the Korean Peninsula. As all of you know, the United States has a pivotal role to play in forging a lasting peace in Korea. One of my proudest accomplishments as president was to help create a new path toward a brighter future for all Koreans, North and South, a path by which the divisions and hardships of the past might one day be healed and really healed and to a level that nobody thought possible before, and the entire peninsula might achieve its true potential, which is incredible. When I came into office, this situation facing the world was very, very bleak. For decades, past leaders had failed to address the growing threat of conflict in that part of the globe. Former President Obama even told me that the situation on the Korean Peninsula was one of his biggest concerns in the entire world. Looking back today, it is easy to forget how dangerous the situation was when I was elected. Missiles were flying, nuclear weapons were being tested, and powerful threats were being issued every single day. As president, I knew that I could not simply sit by and wait for this problem to get worse. Every administration before me had failed, and that's why I was determined to pursue a different approach. Under my leadership, the United States adopted a policy of unprecedented strength, doing more than any prior administration to ensure that America and its allies could always protect our citizens. The United States took an unyielding stand militarily, diplomatically, and economically. We made it clear to all that we would never be threatened with nuclear weapons. And as many of you will remember, the rhetoric got very, very tough, nasty, and mean. Yet at the same time, from the very beginning, I always left the door open for engagement and dialogue. I knew that while any leader can wage war, it takes true courage to pursue a chance for peace. I believe that leaders should never be afraid to talk if there is an opportunity to create a better world for their people. Central to the bold diplomacy my administration pursued were our close partnerships with our allies, South Korea and Japan. President Moon and Prime Minister Abe both deserve enormous credit. They did a fantastic job. Together, over the 4 years, we made more progress than anyone thought possible. We passed several unprecedented and unanimous resolutions through the United Nations Security Council. We brought our hostages back home. So importantly, and I'll say it again, we brought our hostages back home. And we worked with North Korea to bring back the remains of our fallen heroes to American soil. In 2018, I became the first American president ever to sit down with the leader of North Korea when I met Chairman Kim Jong-un in Singapore. There, we established a productive relationship and we agreed to critical goal, and it was indeed a very critical goal, of complete denuclearization, the most important word that you'll ever hear. In 2019, I became the first American president to set foot in North Korea when we met again at the DMZ. Although it became clear in our second summit in Hanoi that North Korea was not yet ready to make a deal, I remain full of hope for the future. To this day, Chairman Kim has kept the promise he made to me in Singapore that there would be no more long-range missile launches or nuclear weapon testing. North Korea has not conducted a major weapons test since 2017. And for the sake of the entire world, I hope that continues. Over the past year and a half, a global pandemic has ravaged the planet. Sadly, the Korean Peninsula and many other places around the earth were hit very, very hard. The virus has caused immense suffering to all of our people. As we emerge from this pandemic that has tragically claimed so many lives, we pray that all sides can recognize that now is not the time for more conflict, but for cooperation. It is not the time for renewing hostilities. It is the time for replenishing hope. And it is not the time to be focused on building up our nuclear stockpiles, but to be focused on building up our nations to make a better and more beautiful world. I truly believe that an extraordinary future awaits the people of North Korea, and I have faith that if they pursue the path of denuclearization, they will make that future a magnificent reality. Until that blessed day comes, the indispensable force for peace on the Korean Peninsula remains a strong America. As we have seen recently in other parts of the world, weakness only invites more violence and chaos. The task for all of us who pray for peace on the Korean Peninsula is to ensure that our nations are not only great in power and rich in wealth, but even more, we must be strong in spirit. Every nation must summon the will to protect its citizens, its allies, and to leave a better future for our citizens. These are the forces and values that inspire change, that move countries, and make history that ultimately lead to peace. As I have argued many times before, if we want peace, we must have patriots. And we must honor the God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all nations and people everywhere. Over the last 4 years, my administration proved that there is no limit to the progress that can be achieved when the patriotic and peace-loving nations of the world stand proud, confident, and united on behalf of their people. 4 years ago, I had the great honor of visiting the city of Seoul and addressing the Korean National Assembly, and a great honor it was. As I told the people of South Korean Republic that day, and I will tell them again and anytime they want to hear it, what they have achieved on the peninsula is just amazing. In a few decades, the inspiration that they've caused for the entire planet is unbelievable. And I congratulate you again and again. In less than one lifetime, they took a war-torn land and turned it into one of the great nations and great democracies of the world while standing as America's friend and ally. Their example reminds all of us who strive for peace and for a better future that we should never give up and never, ever lose hope. With faith in God and love of our fellow citizens, let us work together to achieve a brighter and more brilliant tomorrow. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your dedication to peace on the Korean Peninsula and around the world. 여러분,
Ladies and gentlemen, let us express again our great gratitude with a thunderous round of applause to President Donald Trump for his precious speech. The next keynote speech will be given by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who served as the 90th, 96th, 97th, and 98th Japanese Prime Minister. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is a 9-term member of the House of Representatives, and he served as the 38th Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party, the 21st and 25th Party Presidents, and the 90th, 96th, 97th, and 98th Cabinet Prime Minister. He is one of the representative political leaders of modern Japan who led the longest regime in Japanese constitutional history. And Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, particularly in the second regime for about 7 years and 8 months, especially promoted economic policies known as Abenomics, centered on financial mitigation and growth strategy to stabilize the economy and society. And at the same time, he played a major role for Japan to be part of the development of a democratic international community that shared values such as freedom, basic human rights, and the rule of law by leading the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy and the Trans-Pacific Strategic Economic Partnership. His grandfather, Prime Minister Busuke, and his great-uncle, Prime Minister Eisaku Sato, were representative political leaders of the time who led the normalization of diplomatic relations between Korea and Japan in 1965. And his father, Shintaro Abe, known as Pro-Korea, served as the secretary of the LDP and the foreign minister. In other words, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is from a family representing Japanese politics. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will deliver a keynote speech today in support of Dr. Hak Chan-moon's and UPF Think Tank 22 objectives for unifying the Korean Peninsula. Everyone, let's welcome Prime Minister Shinzo Abe for a warm round of applause.
ご出席の皆様、日本国前内閣総
Good
理大臣
morning.
の安
I
倍
am
晋三
Shinzo
です。
Abe, former Prime Minister
の
of
主催の
Japan.
もと、より良い
It is an
世
honor
界
for me
実
to
現のため
speak
の
together with
対
my
話と
good friend,
諸問題の
former US
平和的解
President
決のた
Donald
め
Trump,
に、およ
at
そ
this Rally of Hope,
150カ国の国家首脳、
hosted by
国会議員、
UPF in the
宗
presence
教指導
of
者が
heads
集
of
う
state,
希望前進
parliamentarians,
大会で
and religious
世
leaders
界平和を共に
from
牽引してきた
150 countries
盟友のト
addressing
ランプ大
today's
統領と
problems
共に
and engaging
演
in
説する
dialogue
機会
on
を
how to
いただい
create
たことを
a
光
better
栄に思い
world.
ます。特にこの度出版したシンクタンク
My hopes and
2022
expectations
の
are
果たす
especially
役割は
high for
大き
Think
なもの
Tank
があると期待しており
2022,
ます。
which is set to be
今
launched
日に
this
至るま
time
で
to play a
UPF と共
significant
に
role.
世界各地の
Today, in honoring
紛争の
Dr.
解
Hak
決、
Jahan-moon
とりわ
and
け
all of you,
朝鮮半
I
島
would
の
like to
平和的
express my
統一に向け
profound
て
thanks
努
for
力さ
your
れてきた
tireless efforts
反
through
ハクチャ総裁をはじ
UPF
め
in
皆様
resolving
に敬
disputes
意を
in
表
the
します。
world, especially in
さ
relation to the
て、
peaceful
未だ
reunification
収束の
of
見え
the
ない
Korean
コロナ禍の
Peninsula,
中では
while
あ
the
りますが、
Tokyo Olympics and
特別
Paralympics
な
were held amid
歴史
the
的意味を
ongoing
持つ
pandemic,
こととなった
they have become a
東京オリン
special
ピック・パ
historical
ラリンピック大
event
会を
and
多
were
くの
safely
感動とともに
concluded
無事
amid much
閉幕するこ
hope
とができました。
and inspiration.
ご支援いただいた世界中の人々
I
に
would like to take
感
this
謝したいと
opportunity to
思いま
thank
す。
everyone around
史
the
上
world for
初
their
の
support.
1年延期、
Despite numerous
選手
hurdles,
村以外
including
外出
an
禁止、
unprecedented one-year
無観
delay,
客等
no
数々
athletes
の困難を
were allowed to go
超え
outside
開
of the
催でき
athletes'
た
village, and the
ア
games
スリー
were
トの
held
姿は
without
世界中の
spectators.
人々に勇気と
But then
感
seeing
動を与え、
athletes who attended
未来
the
への
opening gave the
明かりを
world
灯す
much
こと
needed
がで
strength
きたと
and
思います。
inspiration. And
そ
I
し
think
て
we lit a path
イデオ
for
ロ
the
ギ
future,
ー、宗教、民族、
sharing much
国家、
inspirational moment
人種の
transcending
違いを超えて
ideology,
感
religion,
動を
ethnicity,
共有できたこ
nationality,
とは
and race
世界中の人
enabled the
々が
world to
人間
once
として
again
の
realize
絆
the
を
bond
再
that
認識
unites
する契機となったと
humankind.
信じます。コロナ禍に覆われる世界で
Globally,
不安が人々の
people
心
are
を覆い
experiencing
つつ
anxiety
あります。
over the COVID-19
で
pandemic.
全体主義国家
We
と
are
民主主義国
currently
家の
experiencing
優位性が
an
比較さ
abnormal
れる
situation
異常事態と
where
なって
people
お
are
ります。
trying to decide
人
whether
間としての
totalitarian
絆は
states or democratic
強
states
制
are
されて
superior.
作られるべきではあ
Human
りません。
bonds can never be formed by
感動と
love,
共
by
感は
force.
自発的なものでなければならない。
Inspiration and sympathy
人
must
と
be
人
voluntary,
との絆は
and the bond between
自由と
people
民
should
主
be
主義
based
の
on freedom
原則によって
and
支
democracy.
えられなければならないと信じます。一部の国が全体
Some
主義、
countries,
覇権主義
including
国家が
totalitarian
力
and
による
hegemonic regimes,
現状変更を行
are
おうとする
attempting to bring
策動
about
を
change
阻
by
止しなけれ
force.
ばなりません。
Political
私
maneuvering
は自由で開かれた
of this type
インド太平洋の実践を
must stop.
継続的に訴え続けました。そして今や米国の戦略
Thanks
と
to
な
my
り、
advocacy
欧
for
州
a
を含め
free
た
and open
世界の戦略と
Indo-Pacific,
なりました。
this strategy has been adopted
自由で
by
開か
the
れた
US,
インド
Europe,
太平洋
and the
戦略にと
world
って、
at large.
台湾海
For a
峡の
free and open
平和と
Indo-Pacific
安定
strategy,
の維持
however,
は
the Taiwan
必須要件
Strait
です。
must remain
日本、
peaceful
米国、
and stable.
台湾、韓国など
Thus,
自
the
由と
need for more
民主主義の価
solidarity
値を
between
共有する
countries
国々の
that share
さら
the
なる
values
結
of
束が
freedom and
求められており
democracy,
ます。
such as Japan, the United
UPF
States,
の
Taiwan,
平和ビジョン
and
において
South Korea is more
家
pressing
庭の
than
価値
ever.
を強調す
I
る点を
appreciate
高
UPF's
く
focus
評価い
and
たします。
emphasis on family values.
世界人権宣言にあるよ
As
うに、
stated in the
家庭
Universal
は
Declaration
社
of
会の
Human Rights,
自然
the
かつ
family is the
基礎
natural
的
and
手段単
fundamental
位
group unit
としての
of
普
society.
遍的価値を持っているのです。
Let's be aware of
偏っ
so-called
た価値観を
social revolutionary
社会
movements
革命運動と
with
して展
narrow-minded
開する動
values.
きに警戒しましょう。いつの時代も理想に
History
向かう
has
情熱
always
が
been moved by the
歴
great
史を
passion
動
for
かして
the
きました。
ideal throughout ages.
理想の前
Throughout
に
the
は常に
ages,
壁
an
があります。
ideal always finds
よ
itself
って
confronted by
戦いがある
barriers.
のです。
Obviously, a fight
情
will
熱を持っ
ensue,
て戦う人が
and it is
歴史を
passionate
動かしてき
fighters
ました。
that have changed and moved
自由
history.
と民主主義の価値を
We will
共有
need
する国々
passionate
の団結。
leaders
台湾
if we
海
are
峡
to
の
achieve
平和と
solidarity
安定
between
の維
countries
持。
sharing
そ
freedom
し
and
て
democracy.
朝鮮半島の
Maintain
平和的
peace
統一の実
and
現を
stability
成し遂げる
in
た
the
めには
Taiwan Strait
とてつもない
and
情熱を持っ
achieve
た人
peaceful
々による
unification
リーダー
of
シップ
the
が必要
Korean
です。
Peninsula.
この希望
These
前進
rallies
大
of
会が
hope will
大
give
き
us
な
much strength.
力を与えてくれると
Of this,
確信
I
い
am
たします。
confident.
ありがとうござい
Thank
ま
you
した。
very much.
安倍総理へ大変感動的な演説をしていただき誠にありがとうございます。関東とアジアの平和繁栄に対する貴重な演説と
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your touching speech. Thank you very much for your valuable speech on peace and prosperity on the Korean Peninsula and Asia, and for your support for Think Tank 2020. Everyone, let us send a warm round of applause to former Prime Minister.
정말 트럼프 대통령과 함께 우리 아베 신조 수상께서
We
연설을
have just
해주심으로써
actually listened to keynote speeches from
신통일한 걸
President
위한
Donald
일본과
Trump
미국
and Prime Minister
그리고
Shinzo
강력한 전
Abe.
세계 지지를 통해
And
오늘
through
한학자
the strong
총재님께서
support of
주창하시는
leaders around
이
the world
신통일한국의 모든
for
비전이
a heavenly
반드시 이루어질
unified
것이라는
Korea, I
확신이
believe that this
들었습니다.
vision will
다음 세
definitely become
번째
a reality.
기조연설은
So now we will
유럽
be
대표의 호세 마누엘
listening to the
바로소
third keynote
제11대
address, which will be
유럽연합
delivered by Jose Manuel
집행위원장
Barroso, the
포르투갈
11th
수상께서
president
해주시도록
of the
하겠습니다.
European
바로소
Commission
위원장은
and
지난
former Prime Minister
2004년부터
of Portugal. And
2014년까지 유럽연합
His Honorable
집행위원장
Barroso served as President of the European Commission from 2004 to 2014, as well as Prime Minister of Portugal from 2002 to 2004. And as of this year, he became the President of the Global Alliance for Vaccine and is actively taking the lead in resolving
바로소
the global
위원장은 한학자 총재님께서 창설하신
coronavirus
세계평화
pandemic.
정상연합의
And as a
정식
member of
모시고
International
신통일
Summit
세계
Council for
안착을
Peace
위한
founded by
제2회
Dr. Hak
그리고
Jahan Moon,
제5회
he
희망
delivered
전진 대회에서
impactful
아주
keynote speeches
귀한
at the
연설을
second and the fifth
해주셨습니다.
Rally of
오늘
Hope for the
한총재님께서
realization
입장하시고
of a heavenly unified world,
매진하고
and he will
계신
speak today
신통일 한국의
about the
비전에
vision
대해
of a
아주
heavenly
멋지고 귀한
unified Korea
연설을 해주실
that Dr. Hak
예정입니다.
Jahan Moon
여러분
advocates for
유럽
and is
연합
striving for.
집행위원장
So
큰
everyone,
박수로
join me in welcoming His
모셔주시면
Honorable
좋겠습니다.
Barroso, 11th President of the European Commission, with a warm round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the European Union is about peace. That's the reason why the European Union was created in the 50s of last century. It was certainly an economic organization, but with a clear political goal, peace. So it should come as no surprise that the European Union strongly supports Korean reunification and is in favor of reconciliation and denuclearization in the Korean Peninsula. The European Union has shown its consistent support to that process. The European Union believes it is important that the Republic of Korea engages with the DPRK so that it will be possible to make peace, reconciliation, and reunification of the peninsula. Speaking on my own behalf, and I want to make it clear that I'm speaking personally and no longer as representing my government, where I served for 12 years in different capacities, including foreign minister and prime minister, or representing the European Union, where I served in the European Commission for 2 mandates, 10 years. Speaking on my own behalf, let me share with you that I believe there is an imperative of hope for the Korean Peninsula. We know the difficulties, and there are certainly important difficulties and obstacles, but we know that there are also conditions to make progress now, provided there is goodwill on both sides. Public participation and cooperation should also form the basis of this open process. The Republic of Korea has given clear evidence of good faith and of its willingness to make progress towards cooperation and the escalation of tensions. It seems appropriate for the DPRK now to reciprocate, namely making some concrete and credible steps towards denuclearization. The peaceful reunification of the two Koreas and the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula are very important indeed, first of all, for the Koreans themselves, but also for the whole region and indeed for the global community. All these matters, denuclearization, reunification, peace and prosperity, are interlinked. And at the end, it's about reconciliation, true reconciliation. While other powers from the region or global powers may have a legitimate interest in this process because this process may affect regional and global peace, the reality is that it's upon the Koreans themselves that there is the responsibility to make this happen. When I visited some years ago as President of the European Commission, the DMZ, I could see the physical expression of that division. And that's why I want to reinforce that point. It's up to the Koreans themselves to show their sincere willingness and their commitment to reconciliation. Only through that process will there be conditions for the process to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, in the history of international relations, there are several cases of division and reunification of countries. I'm not suggesting that Korea should follow this or that path. We know well that each case is a case. It's for the Koreans themselves to find a specific Korean way to achieve this peace and reconciliation. As it happens in any international conflict, there are internal causes and external conditions. What the global community can do, and I believe it should do even more, is to show strong support to facilitate through these external conditions, create the best external conditions for the Koreans themselves to find a way for true reconciliation and peace. So what should be done now? I believe in the short term, it's critically important to resume dialogue, to create confidence-building measures, and also, when the time comes, to have some summits between the leaders. And of course, we have to have in mind the medium and long term, where peace and reunification can only be achieved through this reconciliation and the denuclearization process. So we may also ask, is there hope? Is it really possible to have reunification? My answer is yes. I think it is possible. It may appear difficult, but it should be possible. As Nelson Mandela famously said, it always seems impossible until it's done. But how can we say that there is hope? Because there are some signs that it can be done. The very fact that this 7th Rally of Hope, under the overall theme, reunification of the Korean Peninsula, is taking place, and it is including the official launch of Think Tank 2022, it's a very encouraging signal because it's assembling experts all over the world on Korean issues committed to find a solution. And also the fact that this has been assembled under the overall leadership of Ban Ki-moon, it's also a very encouraging signal. I know, well, Ban Ki-moon is a friend. I know his experience, his competence, his wisdom, his persistence, and of course, the love for his country. All this allows us to be relatively optimistic about the future of this process. And let me conclude with a very sincere word of appreciation for the great work of UPF and Dr. Hakcha Han-moon for their remarkable commitment to peace and reconciliation in the Korean Peninsula. I believe all those that are committed to peace and reconciliation, all those that recognize the imperative of hope, deserve our recognition and our admiration. I thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency, for your visionary support for Mother Moon and the work for peace. 여러분,
Everyone, let us once again give a warm round of applause to His Honorable Arroyo for his outstanding efforts for peace and for his valuable remarks on achieving lasting peace throughout the world, and in particular the Korean Peninsula. Now, the fourth and the fifth keynote addresses will be given by representatives of the Asia Pacific, and Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo was the 14th President of the Philippines, and His Excellency H.D. Dev Gowda was the first Prime Minister of India. Former President Gloria Arroyo held office as the 14th President of the Philippines from 2000 to 2010. She was praised by her citizens for her efforts toward the peaceful development of her nation. She especially had a special relationship with Reverend Sang Myung-moon and Dr. Hakcha Han-moon. In 2005, she invited Reverend and Mrs. Moon to the presidential residence Malacanang Palace, where she listened to their peace vision and actively supported the movement to renew the UN. Deeply moved by Dr. Hakcha Han-moon's peace leadership as a woman, Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo has supported UPF's peace movement to this day, and she's also taking the lead in peace initiatives as a woman leader. And also, His Excellency Dev Gowda served as the first Prime Minister of India. He also served 6 terms in the House of the People until 2019, and today he is a member of the Rajya Sabha, India's upper house. And in 2018, he delivered a keynote address at the Asia Pacific Summit hosted by Dr. Hakcha Han-moon, and again in 2020 at the World Summit in Korea. His Excellency has been an active supporter of Dr. Hakcha Han-moon's vision for peace and a heavily unified Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome both Her Excellency Gloria Arroyo and His Excellency Dev Gowda.
In the 3 decades since the end of Russia's occupation of Afghanistan and Vietnam's rule in Cambodia, one cannot recall a period of intensifying military confrontation and superpower rivalry in Asia more fractious and potentially explosive than in the past several years. Thankfully, North Korea and South Korea seem to be bucking this trend toward greater fractiousness, with leaders Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in exchanging letters since April and announcing the restoration of several communication channels in July, including a military link demolished by the North last year. Four drivers of conflict bear close watching and could well be the main sources of global division and war. I cite the four horsemen of the apocalypse in the Holy Bible as symbols of four epoch-spanning forces driving division and confrontation and undermining our overarching vision of worldwide harmony and peace. The first horseman, riding a white steed, wears a crown and wields a sword. Let me dwell on its symbolism of conquest. In the 20th century, the global ideological struggle between the US and the USSR sparked three wars in Asia: Korea in 1950 to 1954, Vietnam from 1954 to 1975, and Afghanistan from 1980 to 1989. With the Soviet Union gone and China rising, the Chinese are ensuring that buffer states like North Korea remain close allies. In Korea, that means keeping Pyongyang on best behavior. Thus, Uncle Sam has no reason to boost its military presence in the South. The second horseman rides the red steed of war. Obviously, that is the antithesis of the Universal Peace Federation. This scourge also went global in the last century with the Second World War and the global Cold War, which has among its fearsome legacies the Korean Peninsula status as perhaps the most militarized land on earth, with 1.6 million troops and among the most fearsome arrays of tanks, artillery, missiles, and warplanes facing off. The third rider, perched upon a black steed, spreads famine and poverty upon the world. In the Korea Peninsula, the specter of hunger in the north can portend both war and peace. On the one hand, crop failures like the one now threatening amid recent widespread flooding could trigger saber rattling and chest thumping against purported foreign aggression to shore up popular support for the national leadership amid mounting social and economic woes. On the other hand, and hopefully this is so today, dire straits can lead Pyongyang to mend fences as a prelude to seeking massive aid. With a growing North-South exchange, food will hopefully flow to the north, clearing the way for more dialogue. The last horseman on the pale mount of death is given its place in the apocalyptic parade to symbolize calamities that can snuff out masses of people in days, hours, or minutes. In the face of the four horsemen of conquest, war, poverty, and death, the imperative for all peace-loving, harmony-building advocates, especially the Universal Peace Federation, is crystal clear. UPF must advance common understanding, purpose, and fraternity among peoples and cultures. Let Korea's example teach the world that peace can thrive if humanity can dream together. Kamsahamnida.
His Excellency Mother Moon, distinguished current and former heads of the state and government, dear global participants of the Rally of Hope, I send you all the greetings and good wishes from the peace-loving Indian citizens for your good health and well-being amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Please stay safe and healthy. I commend the great work of the Universal Peace Foundation throughout the world, promoting the brotherhood and the culture of peace under the gifted leadership of the founder Mother Moon. While we are participating in the 7th Rally of Hope, the world is still going through the crisis of COVID-19 global pandemic. As we are participating in the Rally of Hope, I join with you all. Keep our hope alive to the better world to come, passing through this unexpected crisis of the century. I extend my solidarity to the think tank of 2022 Global Forum and launch a Asia Pacific think tank secretariat in the collaboration with the Asian Vision Institute based on the Cambodia, consisting of the several experts, working groups from a wide range of sectors, government, business, academia, media, religion, and civil society dedicated to exploring the prospects of the peace on the Northeast Asia and as world. I believe that the Rally of Hope series which attached the attention of millions of viewers worldwide will be successful in addressing the critical challenges of our time, promoting constructive dialogue and multilateral cooperation for the sake of peace and human development. May the civil society approach of Think Tank 2022 seek to support the work of government agencies and multilateral organizations dedicated to the promotion of peace on the Korean Peninsula and world.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your speech inspired us and helped us to see a clear vision for Peace Century on Think Tank 2022. 여러분 정말 의미 있고 그리고 감동적인 연설해 주신 우리 글로리아 아로요 전 필리핀 대통령과 데베고다 인도 수상께 다시 한번 감사의 박수를 부탁드리겠습니다. 다음 6번째 그리고 7번째 기조 연설해 주실 분은 동유럽과 그리고 라틴 아메리카 대표의 세르비아 나타시비치치 대통령과 트리니다드 토바고 제5대 대통령 앤소니 카르모나 대통령께서 이 기조 연설해 주시도록 하겠습니다. 세르비아의 나타시비치치 대통령은 재임 기간 동안 발칸반도에서 오랜 기간 세르비아 독재 정치 타도에 앞장서며 평화의 어머니 한학자 총재님 리더십에 큰 영감을 받아 분쟁 역사 깊은 발칸에서 항구적 평화가 이루어지려면 반드시 한학자 총재님의 평화 사상을 따라야 한다라고 강조하며 한 총재님의 평화 비전을 적극 지지하며 평화세계 실현에 앞장서 나가고 계십니다. 아울러 트리니다드 토바고 앤소니 카르모나 대통령은 재임 기간 동안 트리니다드 토바고 물론 중미의 평화를 위한 다양한 활동을 펼쳐나갔으며 특별히 한학자 총재님께서 세계적으로 펼치시는 국가적 차원의 참가적 운동에 고무되어 아주 적극적인 지지를 보내고 계십니다. 여러분, 나타샤 미치치 대통령과 앤소니 카르모나 대통령을 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시면 좋겠습니다.
And Antony Carmona with a big round of applause.
Distinguished fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Rally of Hope organizer for giving me this opportunity to participate in the work of the Universal Peace Federation. It's very important to support efforts such as these that are being made to make the world a better place. As a result of globalization, the world is becoming more humane. Humanity's sense of interconnectedness is especially important in difficult crisis situations such as during the current pandemic. However, once crises are resolved, our tendency is to revert to mainly looking after our own interests. The global order has also been seriously disrupted in areas where we have failed to overcome the after effects of past conflicts, such as on the Korean and Balkan peninsulas. It always seems to me that there are uncanny parallels between the histories of these two peninsulas. Just like Korea, for many hundreds of years, we have been invaded and worked all over by foreign powers, and their influences are present even today. For decades, the peoples of both the Korean and Balkan peninsulas have had to live with crippling tensions in fear of new and escalating conflicts. Today, the struggle for the public interest, which was mostly limited to the efforts of individual states or alliances of states, is increasingly turning into a struggle for what is good for the entire planet, for the global good of humanity as a whole. And that should give us a hope. That is why the contribution of each nation, of each NGO, of each government is so important. That is why the Universal Peace Federation, under the leadership of its co-founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, is also so important. I truly wish the Korean people well in their path towards peaceful reunification and hope that a clear process is in that direction, as envisaged by UPF, can begin really soon. I particularly want to commend UPF's efforts under the umbrella of Think Tank 2022 to bring together over 2,000 of the world's top experts in relevant fields to find ways to make it happen. Thank you very much, and it has been a privilege to take part of this latest Rally of Hope.
Seventh Rally of Hope is an affirmative testament of the perseverance and remarkable outreach of the Universal Peace Federation, UPF, an organization inspired by the humane and benevolent philosophies of its co-founders, Reverend Dr. Sun Young Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon. This initiative is germane to their inspiring advocacy to garner and trigger international mobilization to dismantle the inactive and unsettling state of war between the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the Republic of Korea. The Think Tank 2022, emerging out of the 6th Rally of Hope, was visionary and transformational. The think tank is independent, solution-oriented, and very inclusive, and is not an incursion from outside or any attempt to manipulate the politics within. In the context of conversations on reunification, reconciliation, and denuclearization, and the peace process, we cannot be indifferent to the human economic crises in North Korea. There is a view among many international observers of the need to delink aid from denuclearization negotiations on humanitarian grounds. Collaborative goodwill is the engine of any successful peace process. I need to reiterate the importance and effects of the concept of the Kaesong Industrial Complex, a joint inter-Korean economic project closed in 2016 as a conduit of the peace economy. The reunification and pacification of the Korean Peninsula have the capacity of realizing and achieving goal number 16 of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Peace, justice, and strong institutions for North and South Korea. Persons around the world must be made aware of the phenomenal strides and efforts made by the UPF and its esteemed co-founders in the unification and peace process. The Fourth Estate, the press, must not only share the message of the 7th Rally of Hope, but commit to consistently presenting the advances being made for reunification, reconciliation, and peace in the Korean Peninsula. Effective dissemination of information can ensure our young people globally are made aware and sensitized about the complexities of the Korean Peninsula, so they too can become empowering advocates of peace and also be seated at the table of reconciliation, reunification, and peace for United Korea. I am inspired by Reverend Dr. Moon's youth initiative and visionary rapprochement some 30 years ago when he organized a youth ballet contingent, the Little Angels Dance Troupe, to perform in North Korea with a view to utilizing the force of youth culture to bring the family of a united Korea together, North and South. We in the UPF must therefore continue to be relentless in our mission to culture peace globally. I thank you.
Your Excellencies, thank you for your support for Think Tank 2022 and the Heavenly Unified Korea. 여러분, 자국과
Everyone, let
소속
us
대륙과는
send a warm
무관하지만
round of applause to
한반도의
President
평화 통일, 신통일 한국에 대한 순수한 마음으로 지지하고 그 비전의 성취를 염원해 주신 우리 귀한 연설을 통해서 지지해 주신 우리 타시안 리치치 대통령과 앤소니 카르마노 대통령께 다시 한번 여러분 큰 감사의 박수를 보내주시면 좋겠습니다. 다음은 두 번째 평화 공연의 순서입니다. 대한민국을 대표하는 세계적 어린이 문화예술단 리틀 엔젤스가 준비했습니다. 1962년 문선명 한학자 총재님 양희군에 의해 창단된 리틀 엔젤스는 대한민국의 아름다움과 그리고 한민족의 평화의 정신을 세계에 전파하기 위해 다양한 문화예술 활동을 통해 정말로 민간 외교에서 아주 큰 역할을 담당하고 있습니다. 특별히 신통일 한국을 위해 대한민국 정부와 함께 수많은 공연들 개최했고 한학자 총재님과 함께 전 세계를 순회하며 많은 해외 공연도 개최하였습니다. 오늘 무대에서는 싱크탱크 2020 희망전진대회 성공적 기원과 함께 신통일 한국을 기원하며 진새놀이와 그리고 부채춤을 준비했다고 합니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 우리 어린이 예술단 어린이 천사 우리 리틀 엔젤스를 모셔주시면 좋겠습니다.
Welcome the Little Angels with a warm round of applause.